So, I'm able to record on my computer again. My OBS software is working better. However, what you're going to notice is that there is a bit of a voice delay, maybe by like a quarter of a second. It's enough to be annoying, but it is what it is. Also, the camera's reversed. So, right now I'm looking left. For you, it looks like I'm looking right. So, that's exciting. But, this video, long awaited, we're going to be taking a look at, hopefully the newest, the most fresh Rangers draft pick, the freshest, hopefully the first overall pick by the New York Rangers, which, if they didn't do it, I would just concede my spot as a Rangers fan. I would pick another team. Those of you that have been around this channel for a while, if you remember in NHL 17 franchise modes, I would constantly talk about this kid. In fact, I gave him medium franchise potential when most people had no idea who the hell he was. I have ranted and raved about him for a while, and to be sitting here thinking that he's going to be a member of the New York Rangers is mind-blowing to me, because Rangers don't often get special things out of the draft. Like, if you look at the Rangers, history of the Rangers, outside of Brian Leetch, maybe a handful of others, majority of our talent does not come from within. It comes from other teams. So this is new, and I like this. We got the first overall pick. So before I'm not gonna say a bad word. Before I go crazy, let's just talk. Let's just talk about this Lafreniere kid and what he means to the Rangers. First, we're gonna do a prospect profile of Alexis Lafreniere and what he's done in his 3 years in Rimouski. So, kid's ranked first overall by everybody. Should just be that simple. Lafreniere attacks the net, has some physicality in his game, gets a lot of goals in dirty areas. Quite prominent in 2019. In 2017, when he was 15 years old, high impact forward, can control and dominate games, corrals bad pass with ease, great hands, makes smart decisions quickly. Here is, just a peek at what Lafreniere has been up to since joining the QMJHL. The kid has been nothing short of just friggin' fantastic. Back-to-back QMJHL MVPs, or CHL MVP rather, right? Was that the award he got? Back-to-back years. Let's see. I think CHL Player of the Year, back-to-back years. I think the only other person to do that besides him was Sidney Crosby, or at least was the last person to do it. So that's pretty high praise. And the kid got a personality. He got the personality award, which is refreshing that, there's a stud player coming into the NHL, stud player, knock on wood, coming into the NHL that isn't, like, boring. Got a bit of a personality to him. I like it. This is, alright, but besides that, let's take a look at his stats now. We're not going to take a look at his stats from Elite Prospects. I just wanted to show you these little fancy things, like all the awards he's won and everything from here. I mean, look at this. Jesus Christmas. Rookie of the Year, Player of the Year, like, the kid was just gross. He's just friggin' sick. So, you're going to notice I got numbers right here. I'm going to explain what these mean in a minute. So, as a 15-year-old in the QMJHL, his first year playing CHL hockey, he led the Rimouski Oceanic in scoring. 80 points, 42 goals in 60 games as a 15-year-old. That's kind of impressive. It's pretty badass, to be completely honest with you. This is his first year in the Q. So what does 34.63 mean? Well, 34.63 is a percentage. Lafreniere's 80 points. If you take a look at how many goals the Rimouski Oceanic scored in the entire year, 34.63% of the time, if there was a goal scored, Lafreniere was a part of it, whether it was a goal or an assist. So he contributed to 34.63% of Rimouski's goals. They actually made it to the playoffs that year after just drafting Lafreniere first overall. And Lafreniere had 7 points in 7 games. The 15-year-old kid was just lighting it up. He took a pretty, not that great Rimouski team and took them far. You take a look at the next year now, 2018-2019, Lafreniere's coming out party. 105 points in 61 games as a 16-year-old. Not a bad year. Not a bad year at all. Now, that percentage number only jumped 2 points. He only contributed to 38.6% of all goals. scored by the Rimouski Oceanic, despite missing 7 games, I believe. So yeah, still a pretty high number though. 38.6%. I mean, that's almost 2 out of every 5 goals this kid was involved on the score sheet. I mean, and 37 goals. He didn't score as many goals, but look at the assist numbers. Look how high they jumped. They make the playoffs again. 23 points in 13 games. Not too bad. Not too bad at all. This is my favorite coming up. So this is his draft year, this past year, 17, 18-year-old. 112 points in 52 games. So Lafreniere missed, let's say 12 games, right? That's fair to say. He missed about 12 games. And still, in team totals, contributed to 44.44%, despite missing 12 games. That's fucking impressive. That is unbelievable. Despite missing, let's call it like 15% of team games, he still contributed for the entire year, almost 50% of every single goal he scored. The kid was on a friggin' tear, and that's putting it nicely. He had a year and a half, and this is where he's at. So what does Alexis Lafreniere mean for the New York Rangers, besides everything? Well, let's take a look at the New York Rangers. Let's see what they are made of. Teams. The Rangers, hopefully soon to be the Insangers. I'll stop. I apologize. For that one. That was a bad joke. I know. I tried. Swing and a miss happens to the best of us. So, what does this mean for the Rangers? Personally, actually, I don't want to look at this. I want to look at their entire, depth charts. It's not really the look I was hoping for, but I guess it works. Fuck it, whatever. This is what we got. This is the hand we were dealt. Let's try to make good use out of this. So basically, you know what? Here, we'll actually do that. We'll do, we can do Armchair GM. That'll work. Where do you find that? Fantasy tools? New. Interactive? Yes. Okay. Create a team. Ranger. Your mom. What the hell did I just say? Yeah, we'll do that. 2019, 2020. That way we don't have to fidget around or anything, right? Everyone's here. Good, great, grand, wonderful. No yelling on the bus. We'll create a player really quickly. His name is Alexis Lafreniere. All right. 1, 2, 5, 1, 2, 3. Just left wing, whatever. Just create the damn player, please. Okay. So now you guys get. We're not even gonna put him up there. This. We're just going to move everybody up, and we're going to make our own, together, we're going to make a depth chart for the Rangers. To be honest with you, I'm half tempted to take a few names off of this because I got a funny feeling a handful of these guys will not be back next season. Whatever the fuck it, we're already here, might as well. We're going to take a look at the Rangers as an organization. That's the whole point of this video. I probably should have done this beforehand. Yeah, we're not going to put that. We are going to keep Yegor Rykov on here, despite the fact that he is... Despite the fact that he is not part of the... Well, he's part of the Rangers organization. He went back to Russia. We're going to go sign reserve list. We're just going to sign everybody. Probably should put a couple more. Yeah, you don't got to scroll to player. We don't need that. Cellini, Edstrom, Henriksen, Hughes. We're actually going to go ahead and put Jensen in this because I got a really funny feeling that Jensen's going to be back at some point. And I would not be opposed to that because he's a friggin' stud. I forgot that this guy was still part of the Rangers. Yeah, I'm not even going to bother with that. That guy hasn't played hockey in a long time. Okay. Alright, perfect. This is the Rangers depth chart. So we're just going to do this. Boom, boom, boom. I'm not going to organize it. We're just going to take a look at what everything looks like. So, alright. So this is kind of what I'm seeing, right? Look how many forward prospects the Rangers have, right? So let's take a look at this. What forward prospects are like actually worth something? Well, actually not even that. Here. I'm going to keep this very simple for you. Where does Vitaly Kravtsov fit on this roster? Take a look. Where does he fit? Because from what I'm seeing, we don't even have room for Gauthier on this roster next season. So where does Kravtsov fit in? Because look at his season, he did not outplay Gauthier. Where does he fit in? You can't tell him, hey, we're going to send you down again. The kid wants to play in the NHL. I think he's friggin' earned it, too. But look at the Rangers depth chart. What happens? What comes of this, right? We obviously need centers. We have look at the drop off at center. Are any of these guys ever going to be good enough to actually be a second line center behind Zibanejad, and as a second line center have the Rangers in a spot where they're like, you know what, we are a cup contender? Because I think if you don't have a very strong center core, you're not winning a Stanley Cup. The St. Louis Blues' fourth line center when they won the Cup last year was Tyler Bozak. Tyler Bozak is pretty friggin' good at hockey. And they had him as a fourth line center. Or third line center, one or the other. Bozak might be our second line center, and that's not a knock on Strome. That's just how good Tyler Bozak is. So looking at the Rangers' center core right now, there's a pretty big gap. And when guys like Vitaly Kravtsov are not making the roster, guys like Vitaly Kravtsov, who have a lot of trade value and a lot of value, are not cracking the roster next season, and guys like Lafreniere are coming in, that's some value you get to play with here. And on top of that, where does Chytil fit in? Are we going to move him back to center? Personally, I would not like to trade Chytil. I'd like to keep him at center and see what happens. But let's go as far as to say that happens, all right? You shift over Lemieux, because Kravtsov's not going in over Lemieux. Lemieux is way more valuable than Kravtsov is to the Rangers as an NHL team right now. Now, an organization, long term, I mean, right now, Lemieux is more valuable, and he's going to get the ice time over Kravtsov, especially on the fourth line. So, what happens? What happens from here, right? Well, personally, I think Vitaly Kravtsov gets shopped pretty hard this offseason. I would not be surprised if the Rangers, I would almost be hopeful that the Rangers would look at Kravtsov and the Carolina first-round pick and look at all these, and maybe one or two of these defensive prospects and looks to get a big-name center. I know it's unrealistic. Not even unrealistic. It's unlikely, I think would be the better word. It's unlikely the Rangers go out and get a guy like Eichel or Barkov. It's just, to talk something like that into existence would be very, very hard. Especially because I don't know, I think Florida might be more inclined to listen on offers than Buffalo would be to listen offers on Eichel. Only because Barkov has, 2 years left before he's a UFA? After this season, like once next season starts, he's got 2 years left. So I think Florida might be more inclined to listen to offers on Barkov than Buffalo would Eichel. However, what is Florida asking for Alex Barkov? If Florida tells you, yeah, Carolina's first, Kravtsov, Nils Lundqvist, and like 2 other pretty big pieces, that's hard to say yes to, especially when you could be like, you could play the card of, well, we could just sign him for free in 2 years. Kind of like how the Rangers played that with Shattenkirk. They could have traded for him 2 years earlier, but they waited it out, let him get traded to Washington, and then signed him free agency. Granted, it didn't work out, but that's just how the cards fell. I wouldn't be surprised more so if the Rangers took Kravtsov and company and looked, instead of like a big name like Barkov or Eichel, and looked at someone like Sean Monahan on Calgary. Calgary is just having a real tough go of things, aren't they? I think Calgary is a pretty realistic trade partner for the Rangers. Let's go to NHL.com really quick and take a look at the Calgary Flames. I do think something with Calgary could be worked out. So the game 2 against Dallas tonight. I guess it really depends. I think Calgary would shop Monahan and Gaudreau if the price was right. I just don't know what their asking price would be. But I think a guy like Sean Monahan, like a name or player like that, would be something the Rangers would target. Less than Barkov and Eichel, but still a trade target. And I think an offer can be made for a guy like Sean Monahan. I love Sean Monahan. I almost got his jersey last year. I love him that much. He's one of my favorite players now on the Rangers. But if the Rangers could get a player like that, personally, I would prefer Sean Monahan over Max Domi. But let's say Max Domi becomes available. Yeah. Because right now, I think I put this on. I put it to a poll on Twitter yesterday. I'm actually gonna go ahead and see what the final vote was on that poll. I want to say it finished with everyone in favor of not the option I was. Yeah. So basically, I put a poll up. The Rangers' number one offseason priority, in your opinion, is, and I put options: second line, getting a second line center, getting rid of one of the three goalies, getting a top left-handed defenseman, or re-signing D'Angelo Lemieux and Stromer. And Stromer and company won the vote. Actually, shedding a goalie didn't get a single vote. Getting a top left-handed defenseman was the second most important, but second line center was only the third. Only got 18% of the vote, which quite honestly surprised me because I think right now the Rangers' main priority should be we got to get a second line center going into next season because we can't keep up with playoff teams without that second line center. Now, and again, it's nothing against Ryan Strome, but the Rangers need help down the middle. We don't really have much of a future down the middle outside of Mika Zibanejad. As good as Barron and Henriksen could be, and maybe Elias Anderson might be a third line center, or Brett Howden could develop, or Filipino, I would right now rather between a 23 and 26-year-old guaranteed second line center that we could roll with for a while versus, well, maybe. Because next year, I think the goal for the Rangers is now it's time for the playoffs. I said that last year. I think this year even more so. It's let's go. Let's get the balls rolling here. Let's get this team into the freaking playoffs, and let's get some experience going. Excuse me. And I think Alexis Lafreniere puts us into a different stratosphere. I think he really boosts us next season. Whether he's on the first, second, or third line, I think the kid takes us to another tier. Especially makes us even more scary going forward. I mean, the fact that I'm looking at Alexis Lafreniere on a Rangers armchair GM and it is not even a hypothetical at this point is pretty freaking awesome. It's making my heart all jumpy and happy. So I do think the Rangers need to make a move for a center. Now, personally, if I had my way and we could get anybody in the world that was quote unquote available, I would love Jack Eichel. I don't think it's likely. I think if the Rangers approach Buffalo for Jack Eichel, the first thing they're going to say is, "Well, we want the first overall pick," and I don't think, as much as I'm a big believer in you get the guarantee over what could be, I don't think you trade that first overall pick and company to Buffalo because I'm afraid that when you trade for Eichel, it would look something along the lines of Lafreniere plus Kravtsov plus Keandre and/or Nils plus that other first-round pick. That's a fucking lot. But you got to look at this from the Buffalo Sabres perspective. This is one of the best players in the world, Jack Eichel. Probably, you could debate a top 5 player in the entire league. How do you just go ahead and say, yeah, just give him to us for Strome, Georgiev, and a couple firsts? It just doesn't work like that. So, I think the Rangers' main target should be Alexander Barkov going into the offseason, especially if his name is being shopped around. If Florida's listening to offers, the Rangers should give Florida a holler and see, what can we work out here? And the Rangers need to be firm on naming their untouchables. I think the Rangers' untouchables are Lafreniere, Panarin, Zibanejad, Kakko, and Fox. Those are my and Cjethsyt. Those are my 6 untouchables. I think everybody else is on the table for a guy like Barkov. Right? Am I missing someone? Lafreniere, Panarin, Zibanejad, Kakko. Yeah, those are my 6 untouchables. I think everyone else is up for grabs. I think you would shop everybody else if it means bringing back freaking Alexander Barkov. I think the Rangers were able to construct the Barkov trade where it's Kravtsov. I would start and be willing and okay to part ways with Kravtsov, Hedl, Carolina's first, and as much as I love the kid and believe in him, I would put Matthew Robertson in that deal. As much as I honestly don't want to, because I think Robertson could be in the NHL next year if he really wants to. I would have that conversation with those 4 players in it, especially if it means Alexander Barkov. I mean Barkov, we can get out of this now. We don't got to look at this anymore. Well, actually, I'll leave it open just in case. All right, here. No, here. Fuck it. Let's go to HockeyDB. Do I already have him pulled up now? So, we take a look at Barkov, right? So he had a pretty big drop-off this year compared to last year. I mean, last year he was a Selke candidate and arguably an MVP candidate. And this year, 20 goals, 62 points in 66 games. Yikes. Pretty big drop-off. Honestly, you could say a drop-off the past 2 years. After from this season, this is a big drop off. So does Florida shop someone like Barkov? I think right now Florida is a pretty depthy team. They're pretty stacked up and down, but I think their defense needs help if I'm remembering correctly. Yeah. So I don't know how much optimal trading partners the Rangers are considered, especially because the talent we'd be sending back to Florida would be more offensive talent, minus Matthew Robertson, who is not on the same trade value sphere as Kravtsov and Hedl. So I think maybe if obviously I said what I would part ways with, but I think if Florida is calling the shots and telling us what they want from us, they would want the conversation to start with either Nils Lundqvist or Keandre Miller. I think that's what they would want the conversation to just start with. Now, I think the Rangers should be okay with moving one of them, not both of them, but should definitely be okay with moving one of them and seeing what happens from there. I could see something orchestrated more around Nils than Keandre, because the Rangers have a lot of right-handed defensemen right now and don't have a lot of left-handed defenseman talent. So I could see them orchestrating something around Nils Lundqvist. However, do the Rangers want to trade Nils Lundqvist? Because he had a pretty freaking great year, if you ask me. Yeah, I don't know. Personally, I think Barkov is the likelier target. I just don't know what the Rangers give up to get him. Or if they even go after him at all. But that's about it. I'm going to go ahead and call it there because I'm going to ramble on even longer if I keep at this. I want you guys to comment down below. What does Lafreniere... So I'm going to tell this video, what does Alexis Lafreniere mean for the New York Rangers? And I think that's a question that a lot of us should ask. Because Alexis Lafreniere, it really changes a lot of things for the Rangers. It changes the way we look up and down our prospect pool. It changes the way we look at going into next season because essentially you're getting a free asset. It's entry-level deal, and you didn't have to give up assets to acquire Alexis Lafreniere. You didn't. So he puts the Rangers in a different conversation. I think that conversation should involve getting a big center, a center that could honestly challenge Evander for the number one center spot, someone on that tier, and try to take the Rangers over the hump and get us into the playoffs next season. Not like get us into the playoffs like, oh, they can make the playoffs. Like, no, this is a playoff team. I think that's where the conversation takes it. I want you guys to comment down below and let me know what you think. Do you think the Rangers... skip this version. What do you think this means for the Rangers? Comment below. I want to hear from you guys. What does Alexis Lafreniere mean for the New York Rangers? Comment down below your thoughts. Comment what you think about my thoughts. Were my trade offers too much on the Rangers side? Were they not enough for Florida or Buffalo side? Let me know. I want to hear from you guys. Let's have this conversation. I'm very interested. I'm very excited. This is going to be a very eventful and fun New York Rangers offseason. I know this is a 20-minute video. I apologize for the length, but I'm excited. Let's freaking go. Let's go Rangers. Comment down below your thoughts. I'll see you guys later. Peace.